The PTR is popping, the Burning Crusade is on the horizon, and the news is generally flowing in and around World of Warcraft. That's good and all, but what are you supposed to do until the live game has something new that's playable, right? Are you bored? And to be honest with you, we've been struggling with the same thing ourselves, now that we've all got Curve and stuff. So we guessed a lot of you might feel the same way. So we've come up with some solutions. Some stuff we've been doing in World of Warcraft that may actually be worth you trying out if you really want to play, but you're stuck in a rut, you're doing laps of Ouroboros, and endgame doesn't tickle your fancy. And by the way, we're going to stay away from the obvious stuff. I'm not going to waste your time by telling you, oh, you can go and do a bunch of old collector-driven content like mounts and transmog runs and things like that. You know what that stuff is, and if it's for you. And by the way, Legion soloing is actually a bit better than it was because of a bunch of fixes in December. So with that said, let's go! And shield this month's Patreon loot! Very smooth of me, because of course we're going to the world of enchanting for some lovely, lovely art, and also the glaive pin. Yes, you can get a glaive that you can equip regardless of your class. That's on our Patreon. Links are down below for this month, of course. Patrons, thank you. There's real hype stuff there pretty damn soon. Might even be there now. I don't know when we'll get it announced. But anyway, let's go. All right, Legion. So recently on our team, Dakor has been going back to some of his level 50 alts to do some of basically the best content in the game. Legion's endgame class campaigns. It's kind of hard to overstate just how good these are as an experience overall. And, you know, even if you are a bit outgeared and you're out-leveling them, but, you know, the character building with your allies, the attachment that it creates between you and your class, and, of course, some of the cool rewards. So if you've picked up a new class between Legion and now, or maybe you want to relight an old flame, I mean, I've got an entire server full of level 45 characters, well, you owe it to yourself to go and complete those class quests, and the bit that I need to do the rest of the work to pick up your class mount, because they're great. It's genuinely some of the best content World of Warcraft has seen, and it's just as good today as it was back then. I would especially recommend, by the way, the Death Knight, Priest, and maybe even Paladin quest lines if you want, well, some better context for the forces of death and light. And if you want just a good time overall, I think the Warg and the Warlock quests are just generally really, really great. Meanwhile then, Matt and our team has been trying something else. Leveling. But actually as Blizzard intended, because it's too easy to just look at leveling as a means to an end. So if your goal is just to get to endgame, you'll nuke through the entire process and it'll be completely forgettable and you won't have that much fun. You know, maybe you use Azeroth autopilot all the time, maybe you chain run dungeons. But either way, Chromie Time actually does enable something different, something we're not used to. A decently paced journey through the older expansions. You know, the way that many people primarily enjoyed the game in its earlier years. Treating it as a journey, not just a roadblock, can make it have just a different feel. So just turn off any, you know, auto quest accepting and handing in, set a few hours aside to read the quests, and go to town. Unfortunately, you still will level up too fast to experience an entire X-Pack in one run, but you can pretty much pick up from where you left off on a new character, so that basically means you can actually finish an expansion over a few lengthy play sessions and perhaps get a few characters up to level 50 as a nice bonus, and then maybe those level 50 characters can go do the Legion, the Class Overhaul campaigns. Now, on our team, like Matt has been going through Pandaria on a Panda Warlock, and he confirms that, surprisingly enough, the Valley of the Four Winds is just as comfy as it was back then. And by the way, I would recommend using an add-on called Immersion. Now, yes, I did actually work with the guy who made that for a little bit, so I do have a bit of a bias, but I think it's great, and it seriously makes quest text reading flow so much better. It eliminates the whole wall of text thing that prevents most people from doing it, so big one there. This leads on from leveling, but it's actually way too easy to overlook this as a thing to do, especially for some of us who've been playing the game for so long, or newer players who have just missed this stuff and don't know it exists. So you can just go do specific quest lines and zones that you've not done before. The gameplay definitely doesn't hold up, but you could go for the likes of Zangarmarsh or Shadowmoon Valley and Outland to get some really awesome like world building and stories to follow. Then the faction war. But the one fought in Cataclysm, it was actually really compelling at the time, especially the Horde versus Alliance stuff that you'd find in, say, the Barons and Stone Talon. Like, that Cata leveling content is better Alliance versus Horde content than basically all of Battle for Azeroth, in terms of the storytelling, so go do that. Now also, with all of this talk of Arthas and death and the Shadowlands lore, the Ice Crown quests are seriously something to do, right? We've talked about them a little bit recently in our Yogg-Saron video, and I definitely say that playing through those again, or maybe for the first time, is a really, really good idea. Perhaps especially if you're just off the back of finishing the Frozen Throne for Warcraft 3. Now, if you want a few more recommendations, then here's some of those. So, you've got the Battle of Darrowshire in Eastern Plaguelands, that's a great one. You've got Great Mother Gaia in Nagrand. You've got the Drakaru quests in Drakthron Keep and Zoldrak. Those are some examples of great ones. The intro quests to Icecrown Citadel are also particularly great. Now, those are all individual quest lines. For a larger project, just going and doing the entire Shadowmourne chain in Icecrown Citadel, that's got such a great payoff, and I mean, hey, it rewards an awesome transmog. You can also do that for a few of the Cataclysm legendaries as well. Also, if you've not gotten around to it, the Postmaster quest chain in Dalaran rewards a very useful mail toy, and it's a bunch of fun to do as well. Now, these quests are not going to take a ton of time to do, but they are actually good ways to spend a few hours over a few evenings and just get a dose of what makes the world of Warcraft great. And that's a bit that we often forget these days. And of course, those are just some recommendations to give you a start. Okay, time for the controversial bit. So, everything we said there extends to all the old content that we missed. Now, if you want some difficulty, you can't always party scale your character down. What's really key, though, is actually letting the world of Warcraft in. And that's different. So, go to your volume settings. Turn everything down lower, but turn ambience up. This is one small trick that will absolutely transform how you, the human, actually feel while you're playing. Might sound silly, but trust me on this one, and also, if you've not already, turn off error speech. Then kill your second monitor. Look, a world of us humans thinking that multitasking is a good idea, even when, cognitively speaking, we literally do things linearly, it is actually the best way to ensure that you totally miss the quality of the game you're playing and the show you're watching. It's a bad idea most of the time. An efficient way to basically ruin everything for yourself in the endless human quest for more stimulation, because our brains are just hooked. Also, especially in older times, World of Warcraft leaned on a level of ambience for its sound effects and very low-key music to craft a mood. I mean, come on, Outland ambience is just masterful work. It sets you in that scene so damn well. Also, for extra points, clean up your screen. Go as full minimalist as you can. Disable the add-ons. Remove the weak auras you don't need. Get rid of your damage meter, data texts, notes. I mean, maybe some basic class weak auras and an action bar, your health bar. Also, you can hide chat with this macro, which really can tidy things up. And to get something like this, we've got a guide to some settings below if you'd like to do that as well. Okay, let's kick up the gameplay of gear. So, if going to past content does not suit you at all, good news, we've got you covered. So maybe you are not sure how to progress your current character further, or maybe playing your main just doesn't really feel as good or fresh as it did before and you're getting bored. Either way, you can try something new. I'm not going to patronize you by just telling you can play alts. What I will say is that if you're somebody who's been stuck in one role for maybe their entire WoW career, trying something else can seriously feel like playing a totally different game. Like, it really can. Learning the basics of tanking or healing can take some time, and sometimes can be difficult, but it can be an entirely new dimension to the game that you have just literally not experienced before. As an example, rolling a Warlock has made the game feel very different for Matt and reinvigorated a bit, because always he'll be a tank or healer. And it's more learning that special sauce that really elevates another role to greatness that can really light that gameplay fire again. The first time you smoothly pick up an awkward pack of mobs, or maybe heal your party through a really sweaty situation. Those are moments that make WoW's gameplay really come alive and shine, and in a way you probably have not experienced before. So it's worth doing. Level up a new role. Do that leveling through some dungeons perhaps to get used to how it works. Do your homework, get cracking in the endgame content. I mean, hell, even I remember back in Warlords of Draenor, I was a rubbish healer, basically hadn't done it properly before, and I was even having fun on a Resto Druid doing Blackrock Foundry LFR, purely because it was a pretty okay place to get used to my various different buttons and get into the flow of gameplay. Yeah, trying out healing properly for like one of the first times actually led to LFR being fun enough. Sure, it wasn't challenging, but I was learning new things, and that's satisfying. So that idea of trying a new role does come from a basic principle, and it's one that I am going to rather masochistically apply to myself. You'll find that out in a minute. But basically, playing World of Warcraft can feel a whole lot better when you're actually playing it with intent. So if you find yourself running laps around Oribos, just log off. Play another game. Drop your sub for a few months. So what can you do? Well, you can pick an achievement to work towards. Pick an eye level target, a PvP rating, and make that your goal for the next few weeks. Make it an adventure. Don't get stuck into the trap of logging in, running circles for 10 minutes, then logging out, then feeling the WoW bug, then logging in again, and doing that multiple times a day. Instead, you could aim for ahead of the curve, Keystone Master, or even Conqueror. You could try to hop through a few guilds to find a new home for yourself. You could go finish those Covenant campaigns and alts, or maybe even something that's more of a slow burn, like Lore Master. And if you're doing Lore Master, I think the first bit of this video gave you the tools to enjoy that more. Look, the world's your oyster here. Just, make sure to set yourself in a direction. I mean, hell, maybe this is even the patch that you finally get into role-playing. I have a new goal, by the way. Thanks to Nightstalker34 and a bit of personal curiosity. Nightstalker, by the way, posts his daily anime gains on Twitter. I've been following that guy for ages. I'm taking on what I'm calling the Anime Challenge. So it's only right that I put myself through what's up and actually do that. So you'll see a video, maybe in 2 weeks, after I've just been farming anime for 2 weeks straight, doing, I guess, every world quest. So wish me luck. Perhaps if you have an inkling as to how it'll go, light a candle for me. Okay, if absolutely nothing in World of Warcraft can get your blood pumping, and this video was basically extremely boring for you, maybe the fix is to play a different game. We'll try to give you some WoW lore you'll enjoy in the meantime. Playing too much World of Warcraft can make you sick of it. And what you can do is you can give the developers of the game time to make more content. And you can do that without throwing your money at Blizzard and wasting it in something you don't enjoy. So, things to do. Well, you could go try the Final Fantasy XIV free trial if you want another MMO, though, from what I understand, that game really does take a good chunk of hours to heat up. I mean, it's Final Fantasy, kind of comes with the territory. That same amount of money could go into, perhaps, indie games to spend a few nights in, right? Look, the wider and further you push your gaming experience elsewhere, the more fresh World of Warcraft will feel when you come back. So, if you want some recommendations, well, the good news is both myself and Matt have got some for you, and I'll start off with Matt's. First up, Celeste. Celeste is an awesome platformer with a very deep emotional background and baseline, and a gentle hand to teach you how to approach very difficult obstacles. It's very satisfying when you get good at it. Then Hollow Knight. It's a Metroidvania, so, action platformer, beautiful world. It can be absolutely brutal at times, but it's gorgeous, and it's got some of the best atmosphere of just about any game. There's also Undertale, bit of a throwback to the likes of Earthbound. It is, come on, it's Undertale. It's a deep retro experience. It's a great game. It's excellently written. It is so smart, and personally very affecting. Hades, that's another one. It's an action roguelite, basically game of the year for 2020 for very good reason. It's a very fun roguelite, combat's great. It's also very accessible, perfectly presented. Come on. Everything that team does looks gorgeous. Now, if you want to experience the best of indies, those are 4 of the best so far. Now, the first 3 are actually on Xbox Game Pass for PC right now, so you could get access to all of them for, whatever the price of that is. Hades itself is only $25, and that's less than 2 months of a WoW sub. Now, that's Matt's. Here's a few from me. And also, first up, the reason why I now hate Matt. Because he convinced me to play Genshin Impact, finally. Bastard. So there's that. I'm actually having a shocking amount of fun in that game. So as long as I don't get absolutely hammered while I'm near the Wish store, I'll be fine. I do not want a repeat of my one microtransaction weakness time in my whole life, which is when I hit up the League of Legends store after a few too many 8% strength stouts. That was a mistake. Next, I'll be hitting up Rome Total War Remastered in a few days. I can't wait for that. There's also Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which I think is particularly awesome, and also Warhammer 2 Total War, because I'm an absolute slave to that franchise. And I guess while I'm on remastery things, Mass Effect Legendary Edition comes out next month, and it does try to tighten up the gameplay of Mass Effect 1, and it's got all the DLC, so if you've not done that, it's likely worth trying. Also, you can grab Warcraft 3. I mean, you play World of Warcraft, you should probably see where it came from. Plus, there is an awesome mod team who's currently working on Warcraft 2 in the Reforged engine. They're doing loads of custom models, custom work, so I'm very excited for that. The next up, Game Pass is just insane. Like, right now, I'm playing Halo 3. I mean, even just swapping your WoW sub over to Game Pass for a few months could be a good idea. So, I'm playing Halo 3, kind of just how I used to as a kid, alternating between rounds of that, COD, and WoW. Then the whole Yakuza franchise is there, basically, and those are incredible bonkers games. Also, Nier Automata. That's also there, that's very much on my list to play as well. Now, there's also the fact that if you feel burnt out of World of Warcraft and other games, which is highly possible with all the lockdowns and stuff going on, look, spending a couple of evenings doing literally anything else could be a good thing for you to do. Read, walk, make an intricate dinner. Maybe sit down quietly and ponder existence. That might get a bit too spooky these days. But they do say, you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder, and I think that is true for World of Warcraft. Look, as for me, I've been watching Stargate, I've been learning that bats are actually pretty awesome and relaxing, I've been learning how to cook so that I don't sink all of my disposable money into Deliveroo accidentally, and, also maybe don't set myself up for an early death, trying heart rate variability training, and a few other things, you know? Put a bit of spice in your life. There's also a bunch of things I can't tell you about right now. That'll happen soon. So, what are you going to do? Has this video inspired any grand new activity? Maybe you're unsubbing to 9.1, trying out some new games, doing something new in World of Warcraft. Either way, look, there is a whole World of Warcraft to enjoy until patch 9.1 drops. Just because the game's systems and rewards treat it as World of current patchcraft, no, that other content is actually still sitting there in the game. There is stuff you can go and do, or maybe even go to the big world outside or some other video games if you're so inclined. So, let me know what you are doing to stave off the boredom, have some fun, chill with your friends, whatever it may be, in these bizarre old times. Actually pretty curious to see what all these are doing, so let me know. And with that said, thank you for watching. I hope you got some decent ideas. I'll see you next.